This is the introduction to the See, Hear, Feel technique by Shinzen Young. Essentially what we're doing with this technique is splitting all of our sensory information into three categories: seeing, hearing, and feeling. Seeing refers to anything that we see in the external world, as well as anything that we see in our mind's eye. So you can see a bird cutting across the sky, or you might see an image of somebody's face in your head, or remembering some memory that came up. And all of that is under the banner of seeing. Hearing is exactly the same in that it's anything that we hear externally in the external world, sound of a car, our own voice, music, whatever else, but it's also anything that you hear inside your head. So if you hear your own internal monologue, if you hear thoughts, if you hear a song inside your head, memories that pop up, memories of conversations that you've had, all of those are labeled as hear. And then feel is the widest of the categories, because it encompasses not only the things that we physically feel in our body, like pain, pleasure, hot, cold, moisture, dryness, but we also use that for anything that we smell or taste. And then we also use that for internal emotions, because what you'll find is that for the most part, any emotion that you feel really has a physical corollary. So you'll be able to look inside the body. If you say that you feel anxious right now, if you look inside, you might find that you have tension in your stomach, or tightness in your chest, or tingling someplace, or queasiness, or heat, or cold, or any number of different sensations might appear for you. But when we experience all of that together, we immediately label it as I feel anxious, or I am anxious. But actually, it's just a state of physical sensations in the body that, when put together, all make what we consider to be a feeling of anxiety. Or the same thing with positive emotions. If you're happy, you might feel this light tingling in your face, this kind of feeling of energy, this effervescence, any number of different ways to describe it. But it's the same thing. If you actually look into it, it's mostly a bunch of physical sensations. So if we feel any emotions, we label them as feel as well. So our basic practice can be done for just seconds at a time. It can be done for minutes. It can be done for hours. If you want to do it in a sitting meditation posture, that's fine. You can do it while riding your bike, while walking, while washing dishes, while working, while talking to other people. You can do it all the time, and that's really the goal. The three skills that we are developing in meditation are concentration, our ability to stay focused on one thing for an extended period of time; sensory clarity, our ability to really be aware of the depth and specificity of our sensations. So if you are smelling a flower, how intently can you smell that scent? How rich is it compared to just, oh yeah, that's a rose, and then you move on. If you're eating a bite of food, how many different flavor compounds can you taste in it? And how long can you stay with that? That's the concentration aspect, because maybe you'll notice it quickly and then it's gone before you know it, because you're already on to something else. You're thinking about something else. We can eat entire meals and not really taste any of it because we're lost in our thoughts. And then lastly, the third thing is equanimity. And equanimity is our ability to be okay with whatever is happening as it's happening. And so regardless of what you're sensing in that moment, you can just be aware of it and be okay with it for that moment. If things need to change, we can change it, but it's being able to witness what's going on without an internal reactivity or defensiveness against it. So our practice itself is very simple. We have essentially two different ways of using the see, hear, feel technique. The first is to just pick one of those categories and focus on it exclusively. And so if you were going to do it that way, what you would do is say, right now I'm going to do the here technique. And so I'm going to sit here. Again, you could do this while walking, bike riding, or anything else. But for right now, we'll say we're sitting. And you just listen out or listen in and see what you hear. What's the first thing that catches your attention in the realm of hearing? It could be a bird chirping. If it's a bird chirping, quietly to yourself, label it here. And you can say it out loud if you want, but you don't have to. You can just quietly and dispassionately label it in your head, here. And then for the next 2 or 3 seconds, really focus on the sound of that bird. Really hear all of the intricacies in that bird call, in the warble of the voice, in the length of the notes, in the way it trills off. If there's a response from another bird, really get fascinated for those couple seconds. And most likely you will notice that within 2 or 3 seconds, something else will come and drag your attention away. And you'll hear a car horn, or you will think about something else. And remember, even if you have a thought in your head like, oh, I should have put the water on to boil already, you're hearing that in your head. You're hearing your own voice. So you label that here and then sit with that for 2 or 3 seconds. Then the next thing will pop up and you'll label that here if it's, external or internal. And then you just keep doing that for as long as you want. Again, you can do the same thing with the feeling sense, and you can do the same thing with the seeing sense. Putting it all together into the big unified see, hear, feel technique is where we practice just having dispassionate attention on whatever is arising. We just become aware with what is actually happening in our experience. We don't try to change it. We don't try to influence it. We just try to watch it and keep our focus on one thing, again, for roughly 2 to 3 seconds. So in this case, the way you do it is to just sit there, and the first thing that comes across your vision is a car passing out the window. So you see it, and you just say, see. Now, maybe you heard it first, or maybe the hearing seems more prevalent to you, so then you could label it here. It's okay. It doesn't really matter which label you're using as long as it's accurate to what sense it is that you're using for it. And then the key is to stay with it as long as you can. Now, if the car has zipped past your window and it's gone, that's okay. Obviously, you can't follow that, but you might still hear an after image of it in your mind. You might still see it kind of replay again quickly in your mental, in your mental screen, and just watch that for a couple seconds until the next thing grabs your attention. And maybe the next thing is that you feel that you have this pain in your ankle. So then you just label that feel. And again, don't judge it. Don't react to it. You don't want to go, oh, I've only been sitting here for 10 seconds and already my body is sore or whatever. You don't have to make up any stories about it. You just look at it. And what you'll find when you observe pain, physical pain in the body, is that even if it feels like this excruciating, constant burning pain, it changes subtly, constantly. And the better your sensory clarity is, and the better your ability to concentrate is, the more you can focus on it and look at it. And again, the better your equanimity is, because then you don't tense up and react to it. You're able to just look at that pain from a little bit of a distance and get curious about it. You're like a scientist observing this new species that you just discovered, right? You're looking at it and you're really trying to get into it, and you can feel that the pain actually ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's a little more intense. Sometimes it goes away for a couple seconds. It moves. It's not just in this 1-inch square of your ankle. Actually, the more you look at it, you'll find that it's actually moving around maybe a couple inches to the right, and then now it's like 5 inches to the left. That's weird. And then it's constantly moving from place to place. And so what we normally do is when we have a pain, we don't like it. And so we tense up our whole body and we react to it. And that tension actually makes the pain 100 times worse. So by doing this, practicing your concentration, your sensory clarity, and your power of equanimity, you can then just watch this pain, and most of the times it will disappear pretty quickly if there's not something seriously physically wrong that's causing it. And if it's really bad, if it doesn't go away at all and you want to move or whatever, that's fine. You don't have to put yourself through extra pain and suffering for the practice, but just notice it and see what happens. Also on that note, as you are doing this practice, you might find that, say you hear your refrigerator running and you watch that for 2 or 3 seconds, and then you're waiting for the next thing to catch your attention, but the next thing that catches your attention is still that same refrigerator running. That's fine. Just label it here again. Stay with it for another 2 to 3 seconds. If the next thing that grabs your attention is still the same refrigerator, fine. Label it here and just watch it for another 2 or 3 seconds. And then most likely something else will grab your attention, but it doesn't matter. Even if you're focusing on something and it lasts for minutes and minutes and minutes, and that's the only thing that holds your attention, that's fine. We're not forcing ourselves to look at other objects or to bounce the attention out, but this is going to show you how much it does that on its own. Our minds are like fruit flies. We are constantly bouncing from one place to another much faster than we are usually aware of. And so, again, that's why we are focusing our ability to concentrate, our ability to be aware of what we are aware of with our sensory clarity, and our ability to be okay with whatever is going on, and that's our equanimity. So there are other variations that we can do on this practice, a few other things that we can add into it, but this is really the best way to get you started. And again, you can practice this a couple seconds at a time, minutes at a time, hours at a time. You can do this while you're at work. You can do it on your way to work. You can do it first thing when you get up in the morning. You can do it while you're in bed. You can do it just before you go to sleep. You can do it just about any time. So hopefully this is a good starter introduction for you. I think we covered the basics of everything that needs to be covered in it, and good luck with it.